The World Rally Championship is back. Rally Ireland marks the start of another year of thrilling action in some of the most spectacular locations on the globe. The closed season has seen the credit crunch hit the WRC with the withdrawal of Subaru and Suzuki. But the competition is sure to be as fierce as ever, and the man to beat will be Citroen's Sebastian Loeb, who's going for his 6th Drivers' Championship.
It has not been so long since the end of last season, so we had some tests and everything was going well. So for sure, what we will try to do is to win again the championship. Now we start all with 0 points. Everything is to do, so we'll see.
His main challenge will come from the Ford Focuses of Mikko Hirvonen and Jari-Matti Latvala, and these two Finns are determined to stop the Frenchman's run of drivers' titles.
Well, obviously I try to make it one step better than I did last year, so definitely gonna do all I can to take the title this year.
I hope I would be able to fight for the championship. The target is not the winter championship, but to be able to dare to fight for it and fight for the victories in the rallies. That's very important.
Basically, I just need to win more rallies. I mean, I was very consistent through the whole last year, but it's not enough. Sebastian is very consistent, and he keeps on winning rallies, and if I can't stop that, then he's going to take the title again. So I need to be more aggressive and really fight for the wins.
Also fighting for honours in 2009 will be the cream of rallying's new talent. JWRC champion Sébastien Ogier will be driving for the Citroën Junior team. Is he the heir to King Sebastian's throne? That team will also see Chris Atkinson wearing their colours in this rally. Also look out for Estonia's Ermo Aava, who's now driving for the VK Stobart Ford team. He'll be looking to build on some strong performances in 2008. And their season starts with one of the toughest events. The tarmac of Ireland certainly left its mark when it debuted in the WRC in 2007. Many drivers regarded it as the toughest event of that season, and it sounds like nothing's changed in 2009.
The conditions are changing so much that we can have fog and rain and everything. So there's no room for any mistakes, so it makes it very difficult.
There's bumps, there's a shiny tar, there's everything coming at you, a lot of gravel on the road, mud, so it's not easy to turn up and go fast.
The grip changes all the time. The surface is really, sometimes really slippery, and then the next corner has a lot of grip. The next corner you have no grip.
You really have to overcommit sometimes, and sometimes you'll just slide straight over the slippy bit and end up on a grip, and you go, thank God for that.
And Jari-Matti Latvala will be giving us an insight into how he will be tackling these conditions.
Going over there, that's like on gravel. Normally you don't drive on tarmac like that.
And Chris Atkinson will have to do it all in a new car. How is the Australian adapting to his Citroën C4? Find out later. And this is where it's all happening. The stages are situated in both the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland. There are 19 in all, totalling 349 kilometres. The rally's based in the city of Sligo in the south, but starts in the town of Enniskillen in the north. That was the venue for the opening ceremony on Thursday evening, where the Irish rally fans also got the chance to meet the stars of the WRC. And Sebastian Loeb was first over the line in the shadow of Enniskillen Castle, and he would also be the first to tackle the stages the following morning. Day one is the longest day of the rally, with 8 stages totalling nearly 165 kilometres. It's a challenging start with the first run through the 22-kilometre Glenboy stage, which is where Henning Solberg went off in 2007. While the testing 15-kilometre Cavan is a brand new stage for this year. The day finishes with a couple of stages that were run on Sunday 2 years ago, but this year, Merli and Fardros will be run in the dark. And it's in the gloom just before sunrise when the rally gets underway. The time for talking is over. The 2009 season is about to get underway. And it's the five-time world champion Sebastian Loeb who's the first to sample what are pretty atrocious conditions out there on stage one. So is this mission impossible for Mikko Hirvonen, or can the Finn mount a realistic challenge to Loeb on the world champion's favourite surface? These conditions will certainly be a great leveller. It's incredibly slippery out there.
Huomio oikein täysmiinus, nyt heittää tarkka. Huomio 8. Nyt oikein eri sisältä liukas. 7.
Whoa! His light pods have broken loose in these treacherous conditions. Mikko doesn't need a distraction like that. He's sure to have lost a bit of momentum there.
Vasen jarru oikein hidas pinta.
So could this be the year that Jari-Matti Latvala makes a realistic title challenge of his own? Interestingly, the Finns opted for Pirelli's Soto Zero tyre designed for icy wintry conditions, but looking at the amount of standing water on the ground here, that could prove to be a very shrewd decision. Dani Sordo finished second here in 2007, providing what's become a very familiar Citroën 1-2 finish on asphalt events in recent times. A similar result would mark the perfect start in the defence of their manufacturer's championship. Back with Hirvonen now, and it's looking like a promising getaway for Ford's #1. Loeb's already through the stage, so has Mikko been able to beat that time? It's looking good. Yes, a terrific start for Hirvonen. Despite those broken lights, he's 10.5 seconds ahead of Loeb.
Very early in the start, we went into the bump. Our lamp pod came off, and it turned around, and it was towards me all the time, and I couldn't see anything. And it took a while before I realized that I can just turn off the light, so it's not blinding me all the time, but we lost a few seconds for that. But very difficult start.
Back in the stage, meanwhile, and Latvala's decision to use the winter tyre has indeed proved beneficial. Powering through the water there, and he's on course to absolutely destroy Hirvonen's benchmark. Just the last few corners to get through now. Yes, that's a terrific start to the year for Jari-Matti. An incredible 31.5 seconds quicker than his teammate, and he's also 42 seconds up on Loeb. A stunning effort from the 23-year-old.
It was a good start, but it was very difficult, but I made a correct tyre choice, so I got the advantage from that, but there are still guys coming behind quite fast.
Well, what a decision that could have been to use Pirelli's extreme winter tyre. Using Virtual Spectator, we can see that Loeb on the standard slick tyre doesn't have the confidence to push. Just look at the difference in speed on the straight. Latvala goes through at 159 kilometres an hour, and yet Loeb can only manage 123, some 36 kilometres an hour slower. Ermoava switched from a C4 to a Focus for 2009, and with the Estonian also selecting that winter tyre, he moves straight into second spot behind Latvala. And the biggest shock of all sees Ulsterman Niall McShay set a fantastic third fastest time on the opening stage in a less powerful S2000 Proton Satira. The local star has produced one of the drives of the morning, as has the rally leader Latvala, who stunned his rivals with that stage one performance, and Loeb will not be happy, 42 seconds off the lead in 7th. What a start it's been for 2004 PWRC champion McShay. Unfortunately, though, his terrific run is over almost as quickly as it had begun. Electrical problems have left the local hero stranded just before the start of stage 3. So can Latvala build on that terrific getaway he made on stage 1?
Hyvä koulu, pitkä tromppo, 20 se nyppyli nypyn, paha tromppo, jatkuu vasen 2 miinus, aukeaa pitkä ja heti huomio oikein yksi. Nyt 20 jarru.
Oh, that was a big moment, barely a kilometre into the stage. He clipped something fairly hard, and by the end of stage 2, almost 2 minutes have been lost. And with a broken control arm and drive shaft, I'm afraid that's already the end of Latvia's challenge for top honours this weekend. The Finn's expression speaks 1,000 words.
We really tried to work with the car to make it fixed for the next stages to get to the service and like that, but unfortunately we couldn't make it.
That's one rival out of the way for Sebastian Loeb then. But he still has some work to do. The Frenchman was sitting in a lowly 7th after a cautious start on stage 1. His response, though, is immediate and impressive. With the fastest time on stage 2, he's up to 2nd. Kievan, meanwhile, has continued to maintain a strong pace without taking excessive risks on these slippery roads. And although he's now slipped behind Loeb, Kievan will be content with his safety-first approach. 3rd fastest on both stages 2 and 3. He's now into the same place overall. Ermoava was 2nd fastest on stage 2. The Estonian's taken advantage of Latvia's retirement to move into the lead of a rally for the first time in his career. But on the following test, he faces a real fight to stay ahead of Loeb. Yes, his advantage has been slashed to 6.7 seconds, but Arva remains the rally leader for now. Behind the top 3, Danny Sordo's moved up to 4th following Latvia's retirement. He's followed by Henning Solberg and Konrad Rautenbach. The crew's now on their way back to service in Sligo. One of the rule changes for 2009 is the reduction in the amount of mechanics available to each 2-car team from 12 to 8. That could potentially mean the driver and co-drivers having to get involved if a car needs a rebuild. No problems, though, for surprise rally leader Ermoava.
Ermo, very exciting to be leading this rally.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy, and I didn't expect that I can lead after 3 stages, especially here in Ireland.
How hard were you pushing?
I am not pushing at all, just trying to keep the car on the road, because if you start to push here, it's very easy to go off. In some straights, which are normally at 150 km per hour, we are 80 because we are in aquaplaning all the way. So I didn't want to take big risk in the first. It was night, I didn't see really well where is the water, so I didn't push at all.
Same stages again repeated this afternoon. Extra confidence, can you attack more?
No, but it's strange to see that snow tire is better than our tire on tarmac, even if it's wet. But the problem is that we have no rain tire, so finally the snow tire was a good choice.
After the withdrawal of Subaru from the championship, Chris Atkinson is driving in the red of Citroën here in Ireland. It's an extremely tough event for him to get to grips with driving an unfamiliar car.
Hi, I'm Chris Atkinson, and this C4 Citroën here is the car I'll be driving in Rally Ireland. Well, this is my new office, the Citroën. Obviously, my first impression is that everything's a little bit different. It's not the same in the Subaru I've been in the past 4 years, and you get accustomed to certain little things, certain little details. One of the biggest things is the steering wheel, which is obviously quite detailed, as you see in the in-car with Sebastian. That all the buttons are on the steering wheel, and the Subaru, most of them are on the floor or the centre console. Got to get used to that. A different launch control sequence. But overall, it's a good car. It just takes me a while to get my brain around it, being Australian, not so sharp, but we'll get there in the end. I've already changed the car a little bit in the shakedown, moved my seat up a little bit higher to see the road a bit better. Everything else is similar in the way it operates, but it's not straight away proficient for me to go flat out, so it's going to take some time. My first test in this car was quite an exciting moment for me, and obviously to get used to the feeling took some time, and even now it's taking a little bit longer, but obviously it's an amazing car, and Sebastian and Danny do a great job with it and win rallies, so hopefully one day that's me.
After encouraging results at the start of 2008, Chris's year ended disastrously when Subaru announced they were withdrawing from the WRC. It was as much of a shock to him and Petter Solberg as it was to their fans.
I guess he had a feeling that something wasn't right, but we didn't expect them to pull out so drastically and so quickly, and when they've been in the sport for so long. I could understand was my first reaction, like you need to be winning in motorsport. That's what Subaru wanted, and that wasn't happening, so they took the decision. For us to be in a Citroën at the first rally is a big step forward. 2009 is going to be interesting, obviously. The first time in a new car and a different World Rally car, and first time driving the Citroen C4, which is obviously has the results, 5 times World Champion with Sebastian. So for me, one rally at the moment, and hopefully we can do more. We're looking for sponsors and to move forward with that, but unless we get that, it's the one race, and then we'll have to see from there.
The intense pressure to attract new sponsors may have gone some way to distracting Chris, as he made a costly mistake on the road section before stage 2.
39 right on crest, 40 shot.
We went to the start of the second one, and I took the lights off the front of the car and forgot to put the bonnet pin in and smashed my windscreen on the way to the start of the stage. And that cost us a lot of time. We couldn't see where we're going. In these conditions, you need to see something. Obviously, a lot of things to think about and things going on. And my mistake, that's life. I'll get on with it. And it's not over yet. We're a couple of minutes off the lead, but we can still get a good result.
And you can find out if Chris can improve his position after the break. Let's get back to what's happening on the Irish stages, and the rain is still pouring as the crews head for stage 4 Glenboy. It's unsurprising then that everyone has opted for the winter tyre this afternoon. Sebastian Loeb is in second place, and as expected he immediately looks a lot faster in the second loop. He's over 2 seconds a kilometre quicker than his first run through here. It's a devastating run that the current leader Irmo Ava will struggle to get anywhere near in stage 4, and with an advantage of less than 7 seconds, his time at the head of the field could be short-lived. He's already well past Loeb's time, almost 40 seconds slower than the world champion. Ava and Loeb swap places. We have our third leader in the space of 4 stages then, and there is more good news for Citroen, with Sordo now up to third at the expense of Hirvonen. So he's now out front, and that man, Sebastian Loeb, is going to take some catching.
Et ciel pour droite à fond. 150 mètres, gauche 130 plus Milo.
Hirvonen knew before the event that matching the world champion on asphalt was going to be a tall order, and he's being reminded in emphatic fashion how dominant the Frenchman can be on this surface. Looking at Mikko's telemetry, we can see why Ireland has become one of the most demanding events in the World Championship. Narrow, bumpy tarmac lanes, and still very quick, up in excess of 170 kilometres an hour, and on a road barely wider than the car. In the wet, these roads really are a frightening proposition.
130, oikea täys sisältä, lyhyt vesi 250 yli.
And it seems that this afternoon has been the cue for both Citroen drivers to begin to stretch their legs. With another second fastest time, Danny Sordo has continued to edge away from Mikko. Back with Loeb though, and it seems that amazing run through stage 4 was a hint of things to come. The world champion continues his untouchable form as he sets about building up an unassailable lead. He's fastest again through stage 5. With the Works, Fords and Citroens beginning to surge ahead, Irmo Ava is in danger of being left behind despite his spirited start to the rally. Looking at his time here compared to Loeb, the Stobart four-man is clearly going to be a lot slower again. Almost half a minute off the pace, and Ava is passed by both Sordo and Hirvonen.
Steady, because now the big boys have a correct tire, and now we don't have any chance. Even with that speed, we are having moments, so we cannot go faster at the moment.
All change again up front as the crews head on to the second run through Ochnashilen. Irmo Ava may have slipped to fourth, but the Estonian is again proving his potential as a real force on any surface. Oh no! These treacherous conditions have claimed another victim. Ermo and co-driver Calder Sick are well and truly stuck in the ditch, and that's the end of their day. Chris Atkinson, remember, is still getting to grips with his new car, but he's fought his way up to 7th after losing time with that smashed windscreen earlier in the day.
8 ride-off bumps, 8 ride-off bumps, 70.
Oh, he's lost it! A very high-speed slide there for Atkinson. He's completely wiped out that telegraph pole.
Stoppen? Yeah.
Let's take another look. You can just about see the moment that Chris loses control of the back of the car on that standing water. And from that moment on, he's a passenger as the C4 is sent careering up the bank and into the roadside pole. A number of spectators are quickly on hand to help out, and with his front bumper just about hanging on, Chris gets on his way. Well over a minute's been lost there, but he'll be thankfully still in the event and doesn't even lose a position following the retirement of Ermo Arva. Arva's departure also sees Henning Solberg take over as the leading Stobart Ford driver. The Norwegian's now up to 4th. The leading Citroën junior driver after stage 6 is Conrad Rautenbach. The Zimbabwean is up to a terrific 5th. While their third driver, Sebastian Ogier, is now up to 6th, following Atkinson's dramatic spin. It's the work Citroën of Ogier's compatriot and namesake Sebastian Loeb out front, though. By the end of stage 6, he's pulled out a lead of over 44 seconds. Danny Sordo increased his lead over Hievenen to more than 20 seconds in that stage, and he'll take that advantage into day 2, as the final 2 stages have been cancelled due to flooding. So Loeb will be the leader at the end of day 1.
This morning I knew that we had wrong tyre. I was happy to be the leader of the wrong tyre drivers, but I knew that the other choice will be much better, and so I expected to take the lead if it's no problem in the afternoon, and finally the feeling was really good. The tyre is going very, very well. It's impressive for snow tyre to go as well in this wet condition, so I was very confident in the car, and so I could push hard in the afternoon.
So Loeb, master of the Irish stages today, but he will be aware how costly the slightest slip can be. See you after the break for the day 2 highlights. Welcome back to Rally Ireland, round 1 of the WRC, where Sebastian Loeb is the leader after day 1. Day 2 stages are all situated in Northern Ireland. There are 6 in total, with just over 133 competitive kilometres. There are 2 runs through Slogan Glen, which is nearly 28 kilometres long. This was where Jari-Matti Latvala slid off the road and beached his car 2 years ago. A similar incident happened to Danny Sordo in 2007 on Ballon and Mallard, which is the 2nd stage of day 2 this year. We've seen just how difficult these stages are, and Jari-Matti Latvala came to the WRC TV studios before the rally to tell us why.
Now, this is a very good example what you will have and you will find from Rally Ireland. The Irish roads are very fast, narrow, pumpy, slippy, and also weather can affect a lot. So it's a very demanding rally, demands a lot from the drivers. Oh, here I had a moment. This is the hardest part in Rally Ireland, to judge the grip level. The grip is changing so much. Sometimes it can be very good, sometimes it's really muddy places, and it can cause you a trouble, but you need to be able to find a way to get away from them. For the long time it's very, very fast, and then suddenly you have a couple of slow corners where you have to brake hard. Like here, I had a moment, you know, I was locking my wheels on the braking. This is the worst thing what you want to have, because you can't control the car anymore after that. On the slow, sleepy corners, you need to drive slowly. You can't push on them. You just need to keep the car straight and be steady over there. That's the fastest way to get. Ooh, look how much sideways I was going over there. That's like on gravel. Normally you don't drive on tarmac like that. These are the main things you need to look out for Rally Island.
A minor mistake proved very costly for Jani-Matti on day one, but he will be back today under the Super Rally rules. And with the rain showing no sign of easing up, the tarmac of Northern Ireland will be just as treacherous as we saw in the Republic. Sebastian Loeb was one of many drivers to discover that Pirelli's regular tarmac tyre is not suited to soaking wet roads, but he soon realised that the winter tyre was ideally suited to these slippery roads. Citroen's number 2, Dani Sordo, heads into the darkness of stage 9. He's over 44 seconds behind his teammate, and you get a real sense just how difficult the visibility is in these early morning stages, made even worse by the heavy rain. Mikko Hirvonen's focus will be to keep the pressure on Sordo, who begins 20 seconds ahead. It shows how much the Finn has improved on asphalt, that he can even consider taking the fight to Dani.
Pikkunyppy 2, oikein eri, sisältä pidä 4 ja vasen eri, mene sisältä sumpuun 4.
Another driver who's visibly improved on tarmac this weekend is Henning Solberg. The Norwegian is well aware of his limitations on this surface, but a steady drive has seen his gradual rise to an impressive 4th. He's fortunate he has time in hand on those behind after picking up a puncture in stage 9. Back with Hirvonen and a chance now to see if a more aggressive approach has made any inroads into Sordo's advantage. Here come the finish boards. There's nothing in this. Oh, not quite. Mikko just 0.6 of a second behind Dani's effort. Not really the start the Finn was hoping for.
What was it like? Very difficult like yesterday, and problem is all the water we have in the windscreen, it's inside, so it's disturbing me a little bit, but lots of water, especially here in the end of the stage, so that was very, very difficult.
Conrad Rautenbach is in his 2nd full season behind the wheel of a Citroën C4, and alongside new co-driver Daniel Barrett, he's put in one of his best performances to date. He starts today in 5th. A big, big mistake by Conrad there. Taking another look, you can see he loses the back end and just couldn't recover it. The car is stuck in a ditch and his day is over. Caution is clearly still needed on the soaking Irish tarmac then. And Rautenbach's off means an immediate gain for his French teammate Sébastien Ogier.
100 mètres, frein gauche, 110 moins. 110 moins. Sur droite, 130, corps de flaque.
Oh, but a slip up by him too. It's incredibly difficult to judge the braking points at some of these junctions. This is exactly the same corner that caught out Latvala in 2007. And just like Latvala, Ogier is beached on the bank. He loses a lot of time getting the C4 back on the road. The time Ogier lost saw him fall to 8th, and with Rautenbach retiring, Chris Atkinson, Matthew Wilson and Irishman Gareth McHale have advanced their positions in the top 8, but it's still Sebastian Loeb out in front. On to Ballina Mallard, and Loeb is already on his way into this challenging stretch of road. Few have come close to matching his speed since the Frenchman begun using Pirelli's winter tyre, and that pattern continues again through stages 10 and 11. It's another pair of fastest times for the world champion. Dani Sordo, as he so often does, has slotted into 2nd to play the rearguard action for his all-conquering teammate. And he dutifully manages the 2nd fastest time on both stages. There are some very fast sections in stage 10, lots of long straights punctuated by junctions. Getting his braking points right in here could be key for Mikko Hirvonen in his pursuit of Sordo. There's a problem late on in the stage though. Mikko has lost his power steering and it's immediately beginning to cost him time. What a blow this is to Hirvonen's chances of chasing down Sordo. Using virtual spectator, we can see how close Mikko was to Danny with 10 kilometres left to run. But then, by the end of the stage, just look at how far he's fallen back over that last 10 kilometres without the assistance of his power steering. Chris Atkinson's impressive form has continued meanwhile. The Australian was third fastest in Ballina-Mallard, making up 25 seconds on Henning Solberg. He beats the Norwegian again in stage 11, closing the gap between them to 47 seconds.
40 turn, 3 left opens.
Former rally leader Ermo Aava has rejoined under Super Rally rules today after sliding into a ditch late on day one. The Estonian is steadily clawing his way up the leaderboard and has come up with a novel way of demisting his windscreen with a woolly hat on a stick. Not an ideal situation at over 150 kilometres an hour, but Ermo is up to 12th by the end of stage 11. No changes in the top 6 after those 2 stages, the main story there being Danny Sordo strengthening his grip on second place. At the bottom end, Sebastian Ogier goes back ahead of Gareth McHale. It's back to Sligo for service, where the fans have braved the elements to turn out and support their heroes. All the drivers have selected the winter tyre rather than the standard tarmac tyre and are finding much higher levels of grip. Here's Ford's George Black to explain why this tyre is working so well in the soaking wet conditions.
For Rally Ireland, we have got 2 tyre options. We have the P0 standard asphalt tyre and we have the Soto Zero for extreme conditions. It's designed mainly for working in snow, but we're finding it very effective here in Rally Ireland with the standing water and the muddy conditions. The reason this tyre is more effective, it has a deeper tread, it has got a more open pattern, and it's a narrower tyre, which gives a better contact patch through deep water.
Rally leader Sebastian Loeb has won every stage since he changed to the winter tyre halfway through day one. He's still finding conditions tough out there though.
I try to drive on my rhythm because in this condition I think as long as I push, I feel the car, I feel the limits. But if you begin to slow down, you lose this confidence and then you don't know where is the limit. And maybe for me, sometimes it can be more dangerous to do that. And it's too early in the rally to really slow down.
Back out to the stages in Northern Ireland for the afternoon's repeated loop, and incredibly, there's still no sign of an ease-up in the rain. The horrendous conditions haven't fazed 5-time world champion Sebastian Loeb, though. The Citroën driver sets off into stage 12 with a lead of over a minute.
So attention, gauche frein, glisse pour 50 mètres, gauche 60.
Oh, but a mistake by Sebastian there, a small overshoot, just going to show that even the world champion can be caught out in these conditions. His teammate Sordo is behind him in the stage. And a mistake at the hairpin there, he stalled the car. The Spaniard should get away without too much drama. He's yet another driver to be caught out by the changeable grip levels. And with more than a minute to make up on the Citroën boys, Mikko Hirvonen won't be too disappointed to hear that his rivals are struggling a little. He takes full advantage by setting his first scratch time of the weekend. Solberg is still doing just about enough to hang on to 4th place, but Chris Atkinson has continued to bear down on him with every passing stage. The Australian makes up another 18 seconds on Solberg in here and is now within half a minute of the Stobart Ford man.
80, shiny late, 6 right plus opens, 50. Right to middle crest, mid-8 left open.
And after a few wobbles earlier, Atkinson's teammate Sebastian Ogier has begun to find some pace. By the end of stage 12, the Frenchman is just 1.3 seconds behind Matthew Wilson's 6th place. All positions remained the same. Let's move straight on to the final 2 stages of the day. So, Sebastian Loeb and Daniel Eleanor have so far dealt with all the questions these Irish stages ask of a driver and co-driver. Let's sit with them through this technical section of stage 14.
Et droite à fond long. 200 mètres, attention. Ciel goudron pour 10 mètres, face flèche. Droite 90 moins léger rail. Droite 90 moins léger rail, ouvre en ciel. Et début rail, long ciel, sur devant arc, droite 130 plus mi-court. Et gauche 130 plus, sur droite-ci. Sur gauche à fond long. Et attention, droite 144 moins, freine pas corde.
Sebastian and Daniel were inch perfect through there. And after already going fastest on stage 13, it's another scratch time in here too. Chris Atkinson has put in one of the drives of the day. He was second fastest on stage 13, and on the day's final test, he falls just short of claiming 4th. The gap to Henning Solberg is now just 4.7 seconds. Sebastian Ogier, meanwhile, charges past Matthew Wilson for 6th on stage 13 and continues to pull away from the Brit. It was Wilson's 22nd birthday on Thursday, and while he'll be frustrated to have slipped behind Ogier, he's still running in 7th, which would mark a solid start to the season if he can hang on.
Max right 140.
Emirati driver Khalid Al-Qasimi is running just outside the points and is lucky to even be in the rally after a scary moment on the opening day. The driver from Abu Dhabi doesn't see much rain in the Middle Eastern Championship, but Khalid, with Ulster and Michael Orr alongside him, is surviving everything Rally Ireland can throw at him. Another driver who had been using local knowledge to good effect is Gareth McHale. The Dubliner was on course to claim a World Championship point, but turbo problems on the final stage have ruined all his hard work. Things go from bad to worse as the Irishman is forced to retire on the road section with engine failure. So at the end of the second day, the leading local is Eamon Boland. He's keeping Subaru represented on the leaderboard in 9th. But there is still one McHale running in the top 10. Gareth's younger brother, Aaron, also driving a Ford Focus, is one position behind Boland in 10th. But that's how the top 8 looks at the end of this second day. Loeb's lead over his teammate Sordo comfortably over a minute. Mikko Hirvonen still third, while the battle to watch will be that between Henning Solberg and Chris Atkinson, who are separated by just those 4.7 seconds. And you can see what happens there after this break. Sebastian Loeb holds a comfortable lead going into the final day of Rally Ireland, but as the first 2 days have proved, he can't afford to relax. With the 5-day 3 stages totalling just over 50 kilometres, this is the shortest day of the rally. But it includes Loch Gill. It's slightly shorter this year, but it is now infamous for ending Marcus Gronholm's rally in 2007. And it also saw Chris Atkinson go off. The event finishes with an all-new spectator stage through the streets of Donegal town. On to the third and final day of what's been another brutal running of Rally Ireland then, and at last a break in the rain for the opening stage, the 11-kilometre Givas stage. Under starter's orders is rally leader Sebastian Loeb.
ciel tout droit.
It's been another devastating display of tarmac supremacy from the world champion. His second Rally Ireland win is now firmly within his sights.
Et droiti, et ciel tout droit. 180 mètres, attention, gauche 90 plus longtemps, léger goudron. Et droite 120 millions goudron.
Joining Danny Sordo now, the Spaniard begins the final day just over a minute behind his teammate.
A fondo 20, derecha 7 a fondo, Joguneta 20, derecha 7 a fondo, Joguneta 20 y derecha 7, 7, 30.
It's a flat-out blast through the Irish countryside to get us underway, and Danny is looking neat and tidy through these tricky, narrow lanes. Next into the Gila test is Mikko Hirvonen. The Finn has made the gamble of selecting the dry weather tyre, but these roads are still very damp, so was that a gamble worth taking? Rally leader Loeb has to settle for the second fastest time on this stage. Hirvonen goes a second quicker, so the standard tarmac tyre obviously not too crazy a selection after all.
Sur droite à fond rail. 150 mètres sur brevet.
The battle to watch this morning is between this man, Henning Solberg, and Chris Atkinson. Henning's best tarmac performance to date was 7th in Germany last year, so to hold on to 4th would mark a significant step forward in his asphalt ability. To achieve that, though, he has to stop Atkinson, who begins the final morning just 4.7 seconds behind. It's been a fine drive from the Australian to recover from his frightening day one crash, and if he can beat that target time, he will make it past Solberg and claim 4th. This is going to be close, but it's looking good for Chris. Yes, after a day-long pursuit, Atkinson moves ahead. He's now 1.5 seconds in front of Henning. So Atkinson and Solberg swap places, but Mikko's stage win has made little impact on his deficit to Sordo. He's still over a minute and 20 seconds behind. Atkinson may have moved into 4th, but he's still got a fight on his hands to hold on to the position. He's only 5 seconds ahead by the end of the morning loop. Atkinson's teammate Sebastian Ogier, meanwhile, lost over 13 seconds to Matt Wilson on the day's opening stage. With his position in 6th suddenly coming under threat, the Frenchman promptly steps up his pace, beating Wilson on both 16 and 17. Loeb, meanwhile, is still focused on the job in hand. But he does get another reminder of the pitfalls of this event. As in Loch Gill, he passes the point where Marcus Gronholm went off in 2007, a crash that played a pivotal role in the title race that year. Sebastian takes the corner at a rather sedate pace, but the second fastest time in here is another huge step towards win number 48. With just 2 stages remaining then, Loeb's lead is up to a minute and 23 seconds. Hirvonen is over a minute behind Sordo, but that fight for 4th is still very much alive. Atkinson just 4.9 seconds ahead of Solberg. The crews are on their way back to service at Sligo, where it's all looking calm at the Citroën camp. For Solberg and Atkinson, meanwhile, it's time to make their final preparations for the last big push. Atkinson sticking with the winter tyre, while Solberg has chosen the regular tarmac option, and it looks as though he's already winding up his rival as he leaves service. The final long stage is a bumpy, twisty 14-kilometre blast through Donegal Bay. And having begun the mind games of Atkinson in service, can Henning Solberg make the most of that tyre choice and make any impact into the Australians' 4.9 second advantage? The fight for 4th is being played out in good spirits, but it's serious business for Atkinson. He's still yet to secure his programme for the season ahead. He needs a good result to remind the rally world of his abilities.
50, keep right on crest.
Oh! It's practically the first corner, and Chris has already come unstuck. He completely misjudged that junction. It's another frustrating delay. He's got himself wedged on top of a small wall and needs some help to get the car back on the road. He does eventually get moving, but that couldn't have come at a worst possible time. As that, of course, is all the opportunities Solberg needed. With Atkinson losing well over a minute, Henning is back in 4th, and he's overjoyed to win this psychological battle.
I put slick on the car and he put snow tires. And before I went out from the service park, I went through him, showed him the tires. And then he came to me, Henning, I really like your style.
The Irish tarmac still proving difficult to tame then. It's a warning to Sebastian Loeb that this rally isn't won until he's crossed the finish line.
30 plus en ciel sur attention 30 mètres, droite 120 en 2 fois jet, 80 mètres.
Oh, and that was a close call for the Frenchman. He could have thrown it all away there, but once again, he's got away with that. It looks as though Eamon Boland has survived the treacherous roads of his home event to finish as the leading Irishman. The Subaru driver is on course to finish in 9th. Just a spectator stage remains with an all-new 1.5 kilometre blast through Donegal town, and this rally-mad public have turned out in their thousands to witness the world's finest drivers charge through the tight streets of this picturesque location. It's been another professional drive from Dani Sordo this weekend, and the Spaniard has again ensured that it's a formation finish for Citroën on tarmac. A good weekend's work from Dani and experienced co-driver Mark Marty. Even the Spanish driver, who's regarded as one of the best sealed surface drivers in the sport, couldn't get close to his 5-time world champion teammate Sebastian Loeb. And a real treat for the Irish fans here as the most successful driver in the history of the sport storms through the streets of Donegal. It's been another near faultless performance from Loeb and co-driver Daniel Eleanor, and once again the C4 hasn't missed a beat all weekend.
80 mètres, gauche 132 et droite 137 plus long.
We'll leave you with Loeb through the last few corners of the rally as he entertains the Irish crowd.
80 mètres, droite 90 rasé, 50 mètres, gauche 90 moins long pas corde, sur droite 120 moins long pas corde, sur frein pour 40 mètres, droite 60 plus vraiment pas corde.
It's the perfect start to the defence of his world title. Sebastian Loeb repeats his success of 2007, winner of Rally Ireland once again.
It's so difficult rally like here. It's tricky for everyone, and so I could have done a mistake, and now we are here. We won the rally, so 10 points to start the championship. It's always good to have a victory. I'm used to that, so I try to continue like this.
Loeb's final winning margin over his teammate Dani Sordo, close to 1.5 minutes. Mikko Hirvonen home safely in 3rd. He can be satisfied with his reward of 6 points. But it's Loeb with yet another maximum score of 10, who makes the first blow in the fight for the Drivers' Championship.
Olivier, a fantastic start to the season for you.
Yeah, quite good, because this year there will be only 12 rallies, 2 tarmac, and I think we need points on the tarmac rally because we're supposed to be the best. So we wanted to be 1 and 2, and this is it. And especially with the beginning of the rally, where we make a big mistake with the tires. So everything is finished quite well. I'm sorry for Ford, but I took the points, and I'm very happy.
So Citroën take an early lead in the manufacturer's standings with a maximum 18 points. The BP Abu Dhabi and Stobart VK Ford teams both collected a total of 8 points. And here is the man taking home the big prize from round 1, Sebastian Loeb. He's conquered these difficult conditions. Can he beat the Finns and prevail in the snow in Norway? We'll find out the answer to that in 2 weeks. But for now, we'll leave you with some memories from the Emerald Isle.